And photographers stand here so you have a good view. And when you're ready to photograph, grab these two ropes as high as you can.
Okay.
And now yank it down. Hard, no, just sharply. Don't pull. There we go. One more time. There we go. Now grab the other two ropes and do the same.
That was amazing.
All right. So those bells is what Ohlone Indians heard. That's what regulated their life. The bells told them to wake up and come to church. The bells told them it's time for siesta. The bell told them it's bedtime, and things like that. Because nobody had watches. Even this church didn't have a clock. Bells regulated everything. Yes.
When we were near the outside of the church, I saw a bell wall. Was those the bells ringing?
You mean when you were in front?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was this tower with windows. Yeah, those are the very bells your teacher was ringing. All right?
From him, London's still Give praise to Jesus and praise to Mary.
Mexico, and he was specialized in painting walls like that. And if I understand correctly, we found his sketches that he used to decide how he would paint the walls. So we think that his paintings on the walls are extremely accurate and represent how this church was painted back then. Okay? Yes. Up there, this balcony is where the orchestra and choir would sit. Mission San Jose had a very famous orchestra and choir made up of Ohlone Indians. Padre Duran was musically inclined and he created the orchestra and choir. And you know what they found out? That when they were trying to teach music to the adult Ohlonis, it wasn't going very well. Because adult Ohlonis had their own music, their own instruments. That's what they were used to. That's what they sang, that's what they danced to. And it was hard for them to learn the Western European music, which was completely different harmonic scale, everything. But the children, Ohlone children, no problem. And it is like that to this day. You guys have much easier time learning music than adults. So this is your chance. How many of you play musical instruments? That's fabulous. That's fabulous. That's great. Good. All right. More questions?
What tribe Indians live here? Because my mission I'm learning about had the Chumash Indians.
So, few things. This is a very complex question. She was wondering which tribe of Ohlonis, which tribe of Indians lived here at the mission. That's a very complex question because first of all, the mission Indians came from tremendous distances to be here. So they came from many different villages. There were at one time, somebody wrote, at one time there were 40 different languages spoken here at the mission. And they were not Western languages, they were Ohlone languages, Indian languages anyway. Secondly, California Indians didn't really have the concept of a tribe, like in Midwest. In Midwest they had tribes. California Indians didn't really have tribes. They really divided themselves into villages. And there were also known language groups. They knew that this village and this village speak our language, but that village over there really speaks a different language. So today, historians divide all the Indians in language groups rather than tribes. All right? And the name Ohlone is a name that Indians never used. There was never an Ohlone tribe here. We Westerners called them Ohlonis. We Westerners said, okay, all the Indians that live here on the map, we're going to call them Ohlonis. But that wasn't the Indian name. Today, the descendants of the Indians grouped together and they formed an organization that they call Ohlone, so they could deal with the government, insist on their rights and so forth. But the name Ohlone is a Western name. Yes?
How did they get up?
Okay, so did you see where we went to ring the bells? And through that door there are very steep stairs that lead to that balcony. And today there is an organ there, but originally the mission didn't have an organ. Yes? You have to speak loudly, you're way back there.
For the diary, was it made out of like leather or the paper?
What?
What was the diary made out of?
Oh, the diary, it was paper and ink. They kind of probably look like our books.
Was it bound? I think she's wondering if like our diaries today are usually bound, or was it loose?
So, you know, I'm not quite sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were bound some way. You know, today's diary, actually, most people do it on a computer. But anyway, yes, question.
Do you know which is the closest village
The village that the mission was established was called Oroison. That was the name of the village, okay? They planted the mission right in the middle of it. Okay, guys, we're gonna, should we move on or should we answer questions?
Move on.
Move on.
Maybe these two questions and then.
Okay, two more questions, yes.
How come there's like many artifacts like around this church, like artifacts like there.
What about it?
I'm like, why are the artifacts there?
Because they belong here. You know, I told you that the mission collapsed, people came and took as many things as they could, they hauled them away. But when we rebuilt this mission, they brought all these items back. For example, this baptismal font is original from this church too. And it has the original painting on it. Everything is original except the padlock on it, okay? So, and art and things like that was in other churches and bells. We have our original bells. Yes, last question.
Is
for
some
this
of
section.
that part, like that part over there, this part made out of like some gold? Because it's kind of...
No, it's made out of wood and either painted with gold paint or a gold leaf is used. You know what is the gold leaf technique? You guys are familiar with the gold leaf? That's a super, super, super thin gold foil, and people will carve something like that out of wood, and then they will put this foil on it and kind of press, and makes it look like it's made of gold, but it's just wood covered with gold, okay? All right, so I wanted to talk about this grave, so guys, if you can gather around this, and those of you who are standing right next to it, if you could kneel down or sit down so the students behind you could see it. Kneel down or sit down so people can see it. Okay? And some students can come here on this bench too.
Students, did you notice that there was something that you could kind of fold down on the ground so that you saw it in between the pews? What is that?
This is for kneeling down.
What?
For kneeling down.
Yeah, I was wondering if you knew.
Oh, okay. I thought you had
It's
a
like
question.
something like when you went through prayers.
All right, can everybody see this grave?
Yes.
You can get forward, sweetie. Okay, so is somebody willing to translate for us from? Guys, you're gonna get up front so you can see the grave. Come here. Come here. Let him in, okay?
Nobody knows.
Can somebody translate for us from Spanish to English what it says here?
Nobody knows Spanish here, I don't think.
All right, then I will translate. It says, "Here lies Mr. Robert Livermore, born in England in the year 1799 and died in California on the 14th of March, 1858. He left a large family who mourned his death." Okay, any questions about this? Yes. Not the whole body. Most of the soft tissue gets eaten away and rotted, but the bones are still there. Yes.
For real or like...
What do you mean? Okay, not imaginary.
Okay, but wait, is it?
The top was made from slab of marble that was custom carved. Yes, what is your question?
So he only lived for 59 years?
Ah, excellent. Usually I ask the students, so how long did he live? And I can judge how smart they are by how fast they give me this answer. So you were the first one to ever ask the question up front. So yeah, 59 years. But you know, I had a class one time here who couldn't figure it out. They couldn't subtract these two numbers. And they finally called the teacher, and the teacher came and looked and looked and looked, and she finally pulled out her calculator and used her calculator. So, different kids, you know, you guys are super smart, but you are not the smartest. Because I had the smartest here, they were the talented and gifted or something like that. And this one little boy, they immediately came up with 59, but this one little boy said, Mr. Z, I think there is a 75% chance that he was only 58. And I was like, what? And he says, yeah, well, we know he died in March, but we don't know what month he was born in. So maybe he didn't have his birthday yet in March. And March is 1/4 of the year. So there was a 3/4 chance that he still didn't have his birthday. And I was like, oh my God. And he was right. I went home and I looked up Mr. Robert Livermore, and he was born like in September or something like that. So yep, he didn't have his birthday. He was 58. So the lesson for you is, when you try to figure out how old somebody was just from the years of birth and death, you have to assume that it could be one less. Yes?
Wait, where did his family die? Because he said he loved his family.
Yeah, well, his family died when it was time for them to die, you know.
Yeah, but where did he get buried?
Some of them got buried outside, some of them in other cemeteries, wherever they live. Actually, when we go to the cemetery, you will see a grave of Robert Livermore Jr., which was probably his son that is buried out there. All right? So guys, a question, thinking question for you. Why is he buried here in a floor and not outside? Yeah.
Because he helped with the mission?
No, he was a farmer. He just had a big farm. Yes.
Because he was the...
No, not because, yes.
Because his name is Livermore, and so there must have been like something, like there's a place called Livermore.
Yeah, but that city was named Livermore way long after he died. I'll give you a hint why.
He had a lot of money.
Yeah, bingo. He had a lot of money. So, you know, I wasn't there, but as every historian, I have to use my imagination for all those things that I don't have facts about, okay? This is why historians often disagree. And I can imagine the scene when Mr. Livermore came to the padre, and in Spanish, of course, says, Padre, when I die, I would like to be buried in the floor of the church. And Padre probably said, you and everybody else, so what's new? And Mr. Livermore says, well, what's new is that I'm ready to make a large donation to the church if you allow me to do that. And Padre said, ooh, that you pick any spot on the floor you want. And he picked this one. Why do you think he would pick this one? Yeah, Jesus is looking in this spot, so it's kind of a little bit more important. You know, there is lots of graves under the floor of this church, and wherever you walk on graves. They're just not marked with such a fancy marker as this one, because those people didn't have the money that Mr. Livermore did. Yes?
Wait, how much time did it take you to build this marble grave?
What's your question?
How long did it take to build this?
I have no idea. I have no idea. It was custom carved. I don't know if it was custom carved before he died or after he died. Okay, but another thinking question. Why would he be willing to pay a lot of money to be buried here and not outside? Any ideas? Yes. Hold on. You.
Because this church is like
Special for him. He was probably a very religious person, and he thought being buried here would be more significant. There were probably many other reasons. We did not talk to Mr. Livermore, so we don't know for sure. Don't poke my eye, please. Okay. One is that, you know, if he probably knew that if he got buried outside pretty soon, 2 years later, everybody's going to forget about him. But if he's buried here, his family is going to come here once a week for the Holy Mass. And they will see his grave and they're going to say, Grandpa Livermore, I miss him. And that's what he wanted. He wanted to be missed. And remember. Yes, Steve.
So that's Jesus?
Yeah, that's a depiction of Jesus. That's not Jesus himself. It would be very boring to stand there.
Yeah, I think I know why because I know why he was not buried outside. This is one possibility.
You know that or
Because
you
of-
suspect?
I suspect
Yeah,
because
okay.
of because letter hit our road.
Yeah, who knows? There could be many, many reasons. Maybe he wanted to make the community realize that he is very, very rich and his family is powerful. Who knows? Let's go to the front of the church, okay?
We're still in the church.
Okay, you guys are super smart, super sharp, and this is why our tour is lasting a little bit longer because you have so many questions which are so cool. But you being so smart also makes you talk to one another and lose attention. And I perfectly understand that, and that's fine. All right, so any questions right up front? Yes. Okay, so at the very top, the statue of half a man with all the rays coming out of him, this is how people imagine God himself, okay? And then you have the white dove, just like this one here. It's a symbol of the Holy Ghost. And then you have this oval picture of Jesus Christ in the same situation as the statue. Hold on, guys. I'll ask you for a question. This oval picture depicts Jesus Christ in the same situation. It's called Ecce Homo. What is cool about this picture is that this picture was brought to California by Father Serra himself on his first trip. So he traveled from Mexico to here on some donkey and a horse all the way. And it was in storage in Carmel all these years. And when we were rebuilding this mission in 1985 or so, the mission in Carmel told us that we can have this picture if we put it in a very prominent place. You know what prominent means? Yes. Very visible, observable. So prominent people are famous people, okay? So anyway, so this is a very prominent place. Right below this oval picture is a statue of Saint Joseph. Why would Saint Joseph have such a prominent display in this mission? Yes? Of course. You know that I rarely get this answer, and you immediately knew. Very good. This mission is Mission San Jose, and San Jose is Spanish for Saint Joseph. So that means the mission is named after him. That means he's the patron of this mission. Is your school named after some famous guy? Yes?
No.
No? Oh, Walnut Grove. Okay, so anyway, and below in the glass cage is a statue. Please don't touch the walls, okay? It's a statue of the mother of Jesus, Virgin Mary. Yes. So, we have 10 minutes left, right? And are you staying for the whole day, or is this?
We're staying till 11:30.
You're staying until 11:30. That's all.
Yes.
And you need to see the museum.
There's a whole museum.
Yeah, no, I know there's a museum. Yeah, we were from 10 to 11:30.
Okay, so I know that you would die if you don't see the cemetery, right?
Yeah.
So let's just spend very few minutes to see the cemetery. No more questions. So I have to mention it here. There is only one rule of behavior in a cemetery, and it's extremely important, and that is you do not leave the sidewalk. You stay on the sidewalk. If you go between the graves and you accidentally touch someone, they're extremely fragile. They're going to fall down, hurt you, hurt somebody else. and your parents will be stuck with a huge bill to have it fixed. So go ahead and explore the cemetery, and we're gonna gather here in a few minutes. You're gonna try to hear my voice. Normally the tours last at least 12. Normally last until 12 unless you have a pool.
Can't really say anything about it.
Yeah, right.
Hey guys, no touching, please.
You have to do a project on this? Yeah, but not this one. So just like
Only for me.
that's it. Just start taking a little bit of a video.
Well, so I know, but you're not hearing me. So they want to be buried together, right? So she has already passed away, but he has not. But when he does, this is where he wants to be buried. So that's why it's not engraved yet.
Miss Bell, that's the exact same thing on my grandpa's tombstone. It says my grandpa.
Remember to keep your hands to yourself. You're not actually touching anything. This person is 100 years.
This girl looks like you. Look. That's you.
Go to the older ones, you guys.
Kind of that gravestone.
My great grandpa would have three people. My great grandpa went to. My great grandpa would have a grave.
I thought that said
Would have a grave like something like this because he has a red family.
They just now, like, I think for the new one, they made it okay.
I don't know if you've seen with your vision.
Sad. This is saying I love you too, Mom. Sad.
Kind of.
And if you die,
Dad,
they
what
can
is this?
incinerate you in dust. Then
1886.
the kernel of your dust can go in there. It's called cremation.
No, you only live 1 year. No, you only
You got
lived
cremated
1 year.
and put in an urn. And where's the urn?
What?
I'm sorry to hear about your dog. Did you get another one? Maybe a
Just
gold
gonna
one?
see. Suicide at 35. Are you gonna jump out? Why is there like a name here? Because I saw like it says
They're not. Yeah.
yeah, and I saw a few on that side.
Because there are a lot of people with that last name, right? There's like your last name. There's probably a lot of people with your last name. right?
Yeah.
So if they all die, they will have separate graves, and your last name will be a number of graves.
Oh, so Murnau is not
Who, Susanna? I thought maybe she was born as Susanna Bernal, but then she got married to a guy whose last name was Cottinger. So she's now Susanna Cottinger, but originally she was Bernal, and this is why she's buried. Possible, I don't know.
What happened to your phone?
I don't know.
Mission San Jose was founded in June 1797 by Father Fermin Francisco de la Suen. It was the 14th of 21 Spanish missions in Alta/Upper California. The missions were founded to secure Spain's claim to this land and to teach the native people the Spanish way of life and Christianity. This site was the only mission on the east side of San Francisco Bay. This area had been inhabited for countless generations by the Ohlone Indians. The Ohlones lived in harmony with nature, taking what they needed for their sustenance, but never wasting resources. 3 years after the founding of Mission San Jose, several hundred Ohlones had come to live at the mission. The Spanish Franciscan missionaries introduced them to a new way of life. The mission's permanent adobe church was dedicated with great ceremony in April 1809. Valuable gifts of vestments, sacred vessels, religious statues, and paintings showed the generosity of friends of the mission in the Bay Area and abroad. The silken fabrics and embroideries are products of various textile centers of the Spanish Empire. In 1833, Mission San Jose was one of the most prosperous of all the California missions.
Nació María para consuelo.
And then we'll have about 15 minutes for the museum part where they have artifacts and different things. There's a little scavenger hunt paper. Some of the answers are in the video, and some of the answers are in the museum part, right? You guys who are in the very front, you don't really have anything to write on, so you'll have to figure that out or move, because you who are sitting behind the pew in front of you, you can write on this, okay? So just pick up